Morning, I apologize for being late. This evening is the 28th of Sivan, which is the 83rd anniversary of the Rebbe and the Rebbetzins, the Sefer Bible in America, when they miraculously were able to get out of war-torn Europe during the Second World War and arrive safely in America on the 20th of Sivan, Tav Shin Aleph. It's 1941. And, originally, the date was kept rather low key. The Rebbe never drew attention to it. But in the early 1980s, Rabbi Harlech, or Rabbi Meir Harlech, was involved in a committee that set up a pavilion to mark this occasion. He announced it in the Rebbe's presence. The Rebbe's pavilion of Shabbos Levark, and he announced that there was going to be a pavilion of Chassidim in honor of Parshas the day that the Rebbe came, arrived safely in America during the war. The Rebbe corrected him and said, Ishu Beiser, and meaning the Rebbe and the Rebbetzin. That the date of the 28th of Sivan is when the Rebbe and the Rebbetzin came safely. He just mentioned the Rebbe. The Rebbe pointed out that the Rebbe and the Rebbetzin, if I think from the Rebbe's perspective, legitimized the celebration in order to create the Rebbe. So deserves that celebration. And in 1991, which was 50 years, the Rebbe distributed a kuntrus, a pamphlet, various memorim that were published for this day, sequence that came on Shabbos, and that kuntrus also contained a bit of historical documentation and information about the rescue of the Rebbe and the Rebbetzin, and it was put together with the intention of being like a memento from a Fabrengen which was organized by Siddim for Siddim. And they sent it into the Rebbe for just to show the Rebbe what they were doing. The Rebbe said that they should print so many thousands of copies, and he's going to distribute it after he comes back from the oil on Parshas. The Rebbe went to the oil on Parshas, and obviously they printed up many thousands of copies. Parshas is a long summer day. So the Rebbe came back from the oil rather late, and the Rebbe was fasting. He went to the drink, have like snack, but he didn't after he was going to the oil. So he came back very late, back in winter, and the plan was that so they were concerned about the fact that the Rebbe stood a whole day by the. Then if he's going to stand another few hours, that was 89. Stand another few hours and distribute tracing, that perhaps would be a better idea if we did that 20-minute break to fight, rest up a little bit. So the Rabbi announced after the Rebbe's talk, after Mincha, instead of he was going to distribute the tracing, the Rabbi announced that the tracing are not ready yet. The pamphlet the Rebbe wants to distribute are not ready yet. Therefore, there's going to be about a 20-minute break, and then the Rebbe will distribute. The intention was to give the Rebbe 15-20 minutes to sit down in his room and catch his breath. Standing by the oil the whole day, and so the Rebbe said, they said there'll be a hefsek, meaning interruption of 15-20 minutes, and then the Rebbe will distribute. Like I said, instead of a hefsek, an interruption or a break, would be a hemshech, continuation. The Rebbe said another sikha, another 20 minutes approximately to fill that time. He stood on his feet and said another sikha, another 20 minutes, and then he stood on his feet for a few hours. And I was hearing these words, and start a hefsek, but then a hemshech. Hearing these words now, I feel that these words are very, very powerful. Superficially, you could look at people Talmud next Tuesday, less than a week from here, the date of the Rebbe's scalpus 30 years ago. So superficially, you can look at people Talmud as a hefsek, some form of an interruption. And the Rebbe said, and start a hefsek, but then a hefsek, a continuation. So really, what it is a continuation of the Rebbe's leadership, greater strength, greater vigor, as we see that the Rebbe's influence and the Rebbe's work is only getting stronger and stronger from year to year and from month to month. Just a cute story that I had experience. I'll share. I was in America for a symptom this week. So when I was Sunday night attending the airport, and had a bit of a checking in situation and adjustment. Anyway, I went on to the desk. And there was a colored woman at the desk, and I approached her and I told her what I want. She said she could do, and she helped me. And then I said, "It's traveling back to my wife. We can come together." So we went different booking references, so I put it together. She said she'll put a pretty full plane, but she'll see what she can do. She got busy on the computer and she said, "Okay, got it sorted out. Everything is good." But then I noticed that she opened up her pocketbook. She took out 2 cards on her pocketbook, stuck one into my passport, and one into my wife's passport. And I had a look and I saw it was a photograph of that. And on the other side was a picture of that, which Chabad at the airport gives out to people that are stop at their stand and film or whatever else they help her with. So she had a stack in her pocketbook, and she stuck one in my passport. So I asked her, "What's this all about?" So she said, "This is my rabbi." So I asked her if she could please elaborate. What does it mean to be my rabbi? So she said that she once had a serious problem, health issues, and she discussed it with some friends, some of whom I knew, and she was advised to go to the and to pray. Not sure she's wrestling. She was advised to go to the and to daven. And she did that, and miraculously everything sorted itself out. And she feels very grateful for that. And this is her. This is my rabbi. And she hands out these pictures of the rabbi. Things like that.
Can I just ask you?
Sure.
How would we say?
So it's a long story. In short, there was an application made to the United States government to get visas. When the Friedrich Rabbi went, an application was made to Friedrich Rabbi to get a visa. There was an attempt made also to get visas for his family members. So there were those family members who were with him at the time. His oldest daughter, Hannah Gerari, and her family were with the Friedrich Rebbe at the time. They received visas together with the Friedrich Rebbe. And his other 2 daughters, the Rebbetzin, was with the Rebbe at the time in France. And his youngest daughter, Shena, who was with her husband in Poland at the time, did not receive visas then, but there was efforts that were continuously made to try and arrange those visas. It's a complicated story because there's denials, refusals, and there was contradictions in the application. It was complicated. And then by the time they received it, France was already occupied. So there were no boats from France to America. They had the only place to travel to Portugal. And to get to Portugal, you needed an exit visa for France and a transit visa for Portugal. It's also very complicated. And then there was a story with had reservations on a boat. The Rebbe could ever telegraph them last minute saying that they shouldn't go on that boat. So they didn't go on that boat. And that boat eventually was stopped by the Italian Navy and the passengers of that boat. Were held up until after the war. Listen to it. That boat, and turned out there was another boat, but they couldn't get tickets on the boat. And then there was a person who had purchased tickets for the in-law on the boat. He was a transit visa. But they weren't able to use tickets. He gave the tickets to Rabbi, and it was very difficult. They managed to get on that last boat, which traveled on the 17th of Sivan, and there were various holdups on the way. They were spotted by the submarines, and Nisim, they arrived safely in America. Sivan, Friedrich Rebbe was not helpline low enough to go to welcome them at the harbor, but he sent a group of older citizens who was represented. My grandfather was on the maternal grandfather was one of his. Friedrich Rebbe told them, I'm making you my personal emissary. Welcome, my son-in-law. I'm going to tell you that he's a little bit about him, that he does tikkun tatzos every night. And he was well versed in the Babylonian Talmud, Yusuf Talmud, both commentaries. And later, with all the irons, a number of, and you should be my emissaries for the way. And Rebbe came in 770, hadn't yet arranged an apartment for the Rebbe and the Rebbe since, so temporarily until they found an apartment. Stayed in the room, which today the Rebbe's finished. That was their living quarters for the first few days. And the Chodesh came on Chav Tes, it was on a Monday. The Chodesh was Wednesday and Thursday. So the Rebbe came to daven in Shul on the Chodesh. And because didn't normally the Rebbe put on, it only became known later after the passage that spoke about it in public, about 4 pairs of shoes. The Rebbe instructed the Rebbe to wear 4 pairs. Normally it's Rashi's and Armenian times. There's also a few other combinations. You should obviously do in the David. So the Rebbe instructed, the Rebbe said that Shiva, the Rebbe mentioned that he didn't want to take on himself this nice, the possibility of putting on the 4 pairs. But being that the Rebbe instructed him to, so it's a hizach. But and in Hayom Yom, the Rebbe writes the Seder of how when it's done in fair film. But when the Rebbe arrived in America in Sivan, 2 days before the Chodesh, so on Chodesh, one has to put on all the film before Musa. So normally, the Rebbe would, between Shacharis and Musa, go into his wherever his private place and do what he had to do. But here the Rebbe was in the room, didn't want to disturb her. And it was said that Rebbe in the shul, it's a small crowd, maybe a little over a million. Rebbe in the corner put his towels up. My father was there. That was the only time that Rebbe put on the portrait in the public space. And then Thursday night, Rothman asked the Rebbe's son-in-law. So they asked him immediately. He said that he'll bring with them Thursday night. And at that time, the Rebbe said, heard are well versed in the Tikkun Yiburim, specifically the Rebbe, and he tested them. And that was the beginning of it. And then the Friedrich Rebbe appointed the Rebbe to run various arms of the outreach work of the Irish publication, social arm, various institutions that the Rebbe supported, that Friedrich Rebbe had established in America. He appointed the Rebbe to run them. And that's the beginning of a whole new chapter of American Jewish history, how everything turned from a place where Yidden were unfortunately assimilating and having a real struggle holding up their identity, Rabbi put himself into taking Friedrich Rebbe's message that America is under, making it a reality, and to see to see the fruits of that work. It's Parshas Korach, so we should probably share some thoughts on the Parsha. So Korach is, of course, the story of Korach making a mutiny against Moshe Rabbeinu, and who gave you the right to make Aaron the high priest? Everybody's holy, and so the obvious question is, the story of Korach happened only after the story of the Meraglim. Right? First, you had the story of the Meraglim. So after the story of the Meraglim, then Korach comes along. When were the Meraglim sent? Meraglim were sent on the 29th of Sivan. This Friday is the 29th of Sivan, and that's the anniversary of the Meraglim. And they spied out the land for 40 days. That's why the Jewish people were punished for 40 years in the desert. Yom Lashana, day for a year. So the Meraglim carried out their mission of checking out the land. When did they come back? They left on the 29th of Sivan. They came back on the 8th of Korach, 40 days later. That night, when it says that the Jewish people were hearing the report of the spies, what kind of giants there are in the land that consumes inhabitants, and that we won't be able to conquer it, and we're all going to be killed over there. So it says the Jewish people cried that night. They cried that night. So the Gemara says that Hashem said to the Jewish people, you cried for nothing. I will establish this night for you a night of crying for all generations. That was the night of Kishiv. So the story of the Meraglim included on Tisha. So then it says, Vayikach Korach. Korach comes along. That was after Tisha. And even though not everything in the text was chronological, but over here we know that it was chronological. But it says in this Parsha, the Dothan and Aviram said to Moshe, he said, you're not even keeping your promise of bringing us to the land of honey. Instead, you're putting us to death in the desert. And you still want to boss us around? So it's clear that the events of Korach and Dothan happened only after the decree of the Jewish people remaining in the desert for 40 years, and the entire generation that came out of the parish in the desert, and only their children would enter the desert. That was quite clearly referred to by Dothan and Aviram. So we know that the story of Korach happened after the story of Meraglim. So the question is, what was Korach upset about? He was upset about the fact that Aaron was the praying God. And he was upset about the fact, Rashi points out, what really sparked him off was the fact that Mitzafon and Uziel was appointed to be the Nasi of the family. Korach said that our grandfather, Jahaz, had 4 sons, Amram, Yitzhar, Hebron, and Uziel. So it makes sense to me that Amram's son should get the most important position. After Amram was the oldest son. So I understand that Moshe is the son of Amram, the king, and Aaron is the son of Amram, is the high priest, is the king God. Okay, let's say I can swallow that. But then another position became available, the Nasi of the family of Kahaz. So who should be the Nasi of the family of Kahaz? Amram's sons already have position. So next one is Yitzhar. After Amram comes Yitzhar. So Korach, then Yitzhar, should be the natural candidate for the position of being the Nasi of Kahaz. And Moshe Rabbeinu goes along and he appoints the son of the youngest brother, Uziel, to become the Nasi of Kahaz. So Korach said, I've had it. I'm going to make a rebellion against Moshe Rabbeinu, and I've had enough. So the question is, when was Aaron appointed to be Kohen Gadol? He was appointed to be Kohen Gadol. First of all, there was by Matan Torah, and mainly when the Mishkan was set up. The Mishkan was set up on the 1st of Nisan, and already 7 days before, from the 23rd of Adar, the consecration of the Kohanim was a Shiva Simei Miluim was ready 23rd of Adar. One was Alitzafim and Uzziel appointed to become the leader of the family of Kahas. The latest, when they counted the Yidden on the first of Iyar, then it says where everybody was put. So Alitzafim and Uzziel was already the Nasi of Sheikh Kahas for a good few months. Aaron HaKohen was the Kohen God already for a good few months. Why suddenly now did Korach wake up and decide to object to everything going on? Where was he till now? It was bothering him. He should have spoken up earlier. So the answer that's brought, Rabbi speaks about, based on what it says in Siddur, is that Korach was observing the story of the Meraglim. The Meraglim, you had two sets of Meraglim, right? You had the 10 Meraglim who said we shouldn't go to the land of Canaan. And you had the 2 Meraglim, Shiur and Korach, who said we should go to Canaan. Now, they were all great people. Said in last week's Seder, all great people, the leaders of the church, chosen by Moshe Rabbeinu himself. So obviously they weren't arguing about petty matters. This was a deep spiritual argument. What was the argument? Meraglim were concerned with the spiritual future of the Jewish people. They said that in the desert, where we have manna from heaven, we have drink water from the prophet Miriam, we have the clouds of glory, and we're able to focus on studying Torah, praying, becoming spiritually connected to Hashem, and growing in our spiritual connection. No disturbances, no distraction. Here, there's a future for the people, a spiritual nation that's going to be a bright, connected nation to Hashem. But if we let go into the land of Canaan, and we have to become farmers over there, start plowing the land and sowing the land, and living a physical life without any miracles anymore, then how are we going to be able to manage to connect to Hashem? So they said, and it's a fellows Yeshua, it's a land that will consume its inhabitants. The earthliness of the land will consume us. We'll become swallowed up by our physical and material concerns, and we will ignore, especially the generations growing up over there, will ignore their spiritual connection to Hashem. So we should stay in the desert and remain focused on spirituality and forget about going into the land. Yeshua and Kalev, on the other, they said, no, that not only is the land good, the land is very, very good. Meaning, they said that spiritual connection to Hashem is very good. But that only deals with an external part of the relationship with Hashem. The essence of the connection to Hashem, Hashem is infinite. The only way a finite creature can connect to an infinite creator is by following the will of the creator. And the will of the creator is that we should go into a physical life and serve him with physical mitzvah. And that can only be done when we enter into a physical state of existence. Because over there we'll do physical mitzvahs, and that will be the ultimate connection with the essence of Hashem. So the infinity of Hashem is only accessible in Eretz Yisrael. We don't want to stay in the midbar where we have all the lights are flashing, there's very inspiring experiences, but it's all external. It's all the rays, it's all the inspiration, but the essence of the connection with the infinite creator should only be achieved through physical mitzvahs is missing. We have to go into Eretz Yisrael, and over there, over there we will connect with Hashem in the deepest and truest way through physical mitzvahs. So essentially, what was the machlekes between 10 meraglim and the 2 meraglim? The machlekes was, what's the most important part of our connection? Is it through spirituality, through kavanah, through machshava, through intention, through focus on a spiritual level? Or is it through doing practical mitzvahs? So Korach is standing on the side. He's watching. He wants to see who's going to win this argument. What happened in the end? We know what happened in the end. Shiur and Korach came out correct. And the 10 meraglim had a bit of a soft, because they disobeyed Moshe Rabbeinu, disobeyed Hashem, and all their holy intentions didn't get them to do the right thing. So Korach stops for a minute and he says, 1 minute. Until now, I knew that I have to respect Moshe Rabbeinu, because a Jew connects to Hashem through a deep understanding of Hashem's wisdom, and a strong emotional connection to Hashem, to Abbas Hashem, Yiras Hashem. And I knew that nobody can compare with Moshe Rabbeinu in the wisdom of Torah. Nobody can compare with Aaron HaKohen in his emotional connection to Hashem. His Abbas Hashem, his Yiras Hashem, these are great tzaddikim. They have the strongest connection to their Torah and to their Avodas Hashem on a spiritual level. And now that I'm finding out that all that is secondary, the most important ingredient in our connection to Hashem is physical mitzvahs. So physical mitzvahs, we all do physical mitzvahs. We all do the same physical mitzvahs. So kol ha'eda kulam kiddush, the entire nation is holy. Ubeseicham Hashem, and Hashem is all of us equal. Because when we do physical mitzvahs, we're all connected equally. So madua tisnasu al kal Hashem, what gives you, Moshe, the right to put yourself up as leaders and to be the leaders of Klal Yisrael. What makes you leaders? What makes you better than anybody else? We all have a direct connection, simple connection that is achieved through mitzvahs. We don't need any tzaddikim. We just need to have regular mitzvahs. Everybody does the same mitzvahs. Everybody's the same. Everybody's equal. So then the question is, good point, right? Korach's got a good argument. So if Korach has a good argument, then the question is, if Korach has such a good argument, the question is, what's the answer? So what did Moshe Rabbeinu do? Moshe Rabbeinu said, you should all bring your pans to the Mishkan, incense, and we'll see who Hashem will choose. Right? So he proved that Aaron is the right thing. God, when everybody else is it's not what Hashem wants. But he hasn't answered the question. It came with an argument. It came with a valid question. What's the answer? So it says that Moshe Rabbeinu said to Korach, he said, "Boiker v'yoda Hashem es Hashem." In the morning, Hashem will inform what his position is. So the question is, why in the morning? Hashem is going to make his position known. Let him do it right now. Why is Moshe saying, "Boiker v'yoda Hashem es Hashem"? Morning, Hashem will make it. So Rashi gives two explanations. One explanation is he says that he wanted to give them a chance to do teshuva. Once Hashem makes his position known, they will perish. Those that went against Moshe Rabbeinu. So he wanted to give them a chance to do teshuva. So he said, let's wait until the morning, hoping that until the morning they would do teshuva. Second answer, he says, Moshe Rabbeinu said, in the morning Hashem will make his position known on this. What is the meaning of that? He said that just like the morning and the evening are boundaries that Hashem created in the world that are not subject to be tampered with. You can't switch day to night and night to day. When it's morning, when it's evening, it's evening. So the boundaries that Hashem has created, also can't be tampered. It's the same as day and night. And therefore, don't even attempt to try and change the status of a Kayin, the Levi, and so, because that's not tampered. So the question is, the first answer Rashi gives is that he wanted to give them a chance to do teshuva. How long does it take to do teshuva? A split second. Why do you have to wait until the morning? And if you're dealing with people who in 1 minute they're not going to do teshuva, they need a longer amount of time, who says that they'll do teshuva until the morning? Maybe they need a week, maybe they need a month, maybe they need a year. To do teshuva, how long does it take to do teshuva? You have to realize that you made a mistake. And you have to sincerely regret what you did wrong and commit yourself to do it right from now on. That's teshuva, right? It doesn't take long. It takes maybe a while to get inspired to do teshuva. Once you're inspired to do teshuva, then you've done it. So what's the point of waiting until the morning? Give them 5 minutes to do teshuva. And if 5 minutes is not enough, who says that an hour is enough? Who says that a day is enough? Who says that a week is enough? Why dafka till the morning? And as far as the second answer that is that he wanted to say that these boundaries between morning and night, day and night, just like you can't change those boundaries, you can't change the boundaries between pain and within Israel. Figured it out? Still not working?
No, it just has to be a bit closer so we can hear you.
Okay. So thank you very much.
Yes.
So the answer is that, and if the point is that the boundaries of day and night, there's another point. Could have said in the evening. In the evening, Hashem will make his decision known. When you have to wait till the next morning, this evening is also a transformation between day and night. So one of the explanations is that with the word boiker, v'yoda Hashem es asher lo, in the morning Hashem will make his decision known. Moshe Rabbeinu was actually answering this question. He was saying, Korach, you're 100%. The main connection that every Jew has with Hashem is through his practical mitzvahs. And the practical mitzvahs, every Jew is the same. Every Jew can connect to Hashem in the same way. Everybody's equal, and Hashem is with everyone. However, mitzvahs, which are the essential connection that we have with Hashem, can be done in various ways. And we see this in Pirkei Avos and in many other places. Chazal is an expression, tshuva u'masim toiv. Tshuva and good deeds. Why don't we just say tshuva u'mitzvahs? Why is the emphasis masim toivim, good deeds? And one of the explanations is that the word toiv doesn't only mean good, it also means luminescent. Like a precious stone is called an even toiv, a luminous gem, a luminous stone. So masim toivim mean deeds that illuminate. So you can have mitzvahs. Mitzvahs at tzavsa v'chibur, a connection with the essence of Hashem. But sometimes the mitzvah could be a dark mitzvah. Like you have a diamond that's rolled in mud, even though it's a diamond, but it's not shining in a revealed way because the mud is concealing it. Sometimes you have a mitzvah that's luminescent, shining. What makes a mitzvah light or dark? The mitzvah needs to be accompanied with kavanah. You have to understand what it's about. You have an understanding of the greatness of Hashem, who you're doing this mitzvah to connect to. You have to have an emotional connection to Hashem, which is Abbas Hashem, Yiras Hashem. That's what polishes the mitzvah and makes it a luminescent mitzvah. If you're doing the mitzvah in a dull way, without kavanah, without understanding, without Abbas Hashem and Yiras Hashem, but it's also a mitzvah, but it's a dark mitzvah. So Moshe Rabbeinu said to Korach, you're 100% right. It's the mitzvahs, maisis, practical, physical mitzvahs that make the connection with Hashem. But Hashem wants that connection should be a luminescent connection. He wants it to be a lichtig connection, a connection to Hashem which is bright and illuminated, luminous connection. And how is that? How does a mitzvah become bright and luminous? Through the kavanah of the mitzvah, through the understanding of the greatness of Hashem that accompanies the mitzvah, through the love of Hashem that accompanies the fear of Hashem that accompanies the mitzvah. That's what makes the mitzvah a luminous act. And just like we say, this Abba HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to have a dwelling place in the lowest realm. He wants that this dwelling place in the lowest realm should be a luminous dwelling place. So the dwelling place is created through the act of the mitzvah. But the bright, shining illumination in the dwelling place is created through the kavanah and the understanding of the greatness of Hashem that accompanies the mitzvah. So even though every Jew does the mitzvahs equally and everybody's the same and everybody makes that essential connection with Hashem, but the tzaddikim have it, it's happening in a much more illuminated manner by tzaddikim, in a luminous manner. It's masim toivim. It's a morning mitzvah. There's morning mitzvahs and there's evening mitzvahs. The mitzvahs, the way tzaddikim do them, are morning mitzvahs. So first of all, the tzaddikim are the ones whose mitzvahs are in the most luminous manner. And they can help illuminate those that cleave to them. They can help illuminate their lives and their mitzvahs as well and bring light and brightness into their mitzvahs. That's the first thing. And through iskashrus to the tzaddik, through connecting to the tzaddik, the person brings light upon himself as well. So therefore, Moshe Rabbeinu says to Korach, you're right that the mitzvahs, maisis, the practical mitzvahs are the most important component that's connected to Hashem. But what you don't realize is that the mitzvahs need to be luminous mitzvahs. And it's not by rejecting the tzaddikim that you illuminate your relationship with Hashem. That's by devoting yourself to the tzaddikim and appreciating the illumination that there is in Aved of the tzaddik that brings also luminescence into your life. And that's what Korach was missing. So both Parshas, Shlach and Korach, both have a very powerful message that complements each other. The message in Shlach is that the most important part of the connection to Hashem is through practical mitzvahs. As Yeshua and Korach said, the dafka through going into a physical land where we're going to live in a physical life without miracles, everything will be physical. That's where we'll be able to have the ultimate connection with Hashem through doing physical mitzvahs. But at the same time, you have to remember that these physical mitzvahs need to be done in an illuminating manner. And that is uniquely by tzaddikim. And through connecting to tzaddikim, we bring light into our lives and to our connection to Hashem, that it should be a luminous connection as well. Which leads us to the upcoming date of Gimel Tammuz, which is coming up, as I said before, this coming Tuesday, Mr. Hashem. So this kashrus to the tzaddik hador gives an opportunity, first of all, to appreciate the luminescence that the tzaddik brings into the world, and to connect, by connecting to the tzaddik, we bring that luminescence into our lives as well, and give ourselves the opportunity not only to make the connection, which is through mitzvahs, obviously, but that the connection should be an illuminated connection. Sure.
It says that it's
Good teshuvah. Sure, they do. They could also do teshuvah. They could also do teshuvah in one moment. And if one moment wasn't enough, how many moments do you need? So it's hard to understand how exactly till the morning would be the solution. As we see in the end, they didn't do teshuvah till the morning. The only one who did teshuvah was Ein ben Pelas, and that was his wife's influence. He's mentioned in the beginning when it says that Korach started this movement against Moshe Rabbeinu, Ein ben Pelas from the tribe of Reuben is mentioned. And later, when they actually came to present their claims, and Ein ben Pelas disappears from the scene. And our Chachamim tell us that he had a very clever wife. She got him out of the group. Korach's wife revved him on. And Ein ben Pelas' wife spared him from the whole business. And, therefore, he was, just like last week said in Shlach, it was the men who believed these spies and said, we don't want to go there. So women said, we want to go just the same. We have absolute faith in Hashem, not worried at all. Therefore, the decree about the whole generation perishing in the desert only applied to the men. Similarly, in this week's Saturday, see a similar. Saying that, I just let me repeat what you said for the purpose, for the benefit of people who didn't hear. Saying that not only is the tzaddik saveda luminous, but the tzaddik can feel the light coming out of every Jew's mitzvah. And in general, also the light that is in the neshama of every Jew. Tzaddik sees the bright light that shines from the neshama of every Jew. That's why every Jew is so precious. Doesn't get distracted by the externality. Are there any other questions? Or else we'll go over to Tanya. So in Tanya, we are now in the first chapter of Sha'ar Eichad V'Emunah. So the number on top of the page is 152.
287 and 288.
287 and 288 are the numbers on the bottom of the page.
Yep.
Bilingual time. Thank you very much. So Perek Aleph. V'yadata hayoim v'hashevaisa el levavecha. Pasuk begins by saying, you shall know this day, and you shall take to your heart. The Almighty is God. Shamayim yimal, and heaven above, all the earth Parshas, and earth below. Ein oy. There is none else. So the superficial meaning of this pasuk is Hashem is God, and heaven above, and the earth below. There is none else. There's no other God. Right? That's the way the pasuk is understood superficially. It's only Hashem, and there's no other God besides Hashem. No competition. So the Alter Rebbe asks, Sarach Lahavim, if we just understand the pasuk on its superficial value, then the obvious question would be asked, would it have entered your mind that there's a God soaking somewhere in the water underneath the earth? So such a warning, and you should turn to your heart, you should bring back to your heart, take to your heart. In other words, if sometimes there's information which is not clear, the Torah tells you, you should know that this is the way it is. Once the Torah tells you this is the way it is, you know this is the way it is. Sometimes the Torah tells you something, it's so difficult to absorb. But even after you're told, it doesn't sit well with you. But then it's not enough just to be told. You have to think about it, you have to contemplate on it, you have to really work on yourself to take it into your heart and allow yourself to be convinced of this truth. If the message via Data Hayim you can know this day that Hashem is God, there's none else. It means there's no other God. That's not so difficult to absorb. So Hashem tells you, Hashem is God, there's no other God. And that's the way it is. That's the story. Why does the pasuk have to say, you should take to your heart? As if though it's something that even after I told you, it's only going to click. The penny's only going to drop after a lot of effort to really understand this and contemplate on this until the penny drops, until you get the message. If the meaning of Ein Oid is no other God, that is a big deal. Doesn't have to say about you should take to your heart that Hashem is the only God in heaven above and on earth below. It's none else. As you say in the Seder Saldibris, shouldn't have another God in heaven above and on earth below, or in the water that's under the earth. You think there was a God soaking somewhere in the water that's under the earth that we have to be told there's no other God, and you better consider this strongly and take it to heart. So Hine Ksiv. So now the Rabbi begins by quoting a pasuk from Tehillim and sharing with us what the Medrash said on this pasuk. And this gives us a whole different perspective on what it means when we say Ein Oid, there's nothing, it's none else. Hine Ksiv, behold, it says in the pasuk, Elam Hashem Barucha Nitzav Hashem. Forever Hashem, your word stands firm in the heavens. What does it mean, forever Hashem, your word stands firm in the heavens? Pasuk continues. Pirush Baal Shem Tov Zal. So the Baal Shem Tov, of blessed memory, explained this pasuk. And actually, what they quote from the Baal Shem Tov is actually a Medrash Tehillim. And the question is asked, why is the Alter Rebbe quoting it from the Baal Shem Tov when it's a Medrash? So there are various answers. One of the answers is that the word Pirush means to explain. It also means, like Pirush with a sin means to spread out. Like you spread out a tablecloth, or you spread out a sheet on a bed. It's called Prisas Hasad. So Pirush Baal Shem Tov can mean the Baal Shem Tov interpreted and explained, commented on it. It can also mean the Baal Shem Tov publicized this Maimer Chazal. Baal Shem Tov spread it out, because this is a Maimer Chazal which didn't get a lot of attention prior to the Baal Shem Tov. And the Baal Shem Tov drew attention to this Maimer Chazal. That what? Your words, Hashem, you have spoken, and you have said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the water. These very words and these very letters and are forever standing firm, forever in the firmament of the heaven. And they're enclosed in all the heavens to give them life. In other words, why does the heaven continue to exist? Why the heaven existed 5,784 years ago since Hashem created? But why does the heaven continue to exist today? Because Hashem's words of Yehida Kiyah V'Sei Chamayim, in the be a permanent lift to the water, continue to recreate the heaven from nothing to something every split second. And that's why the heaven is there. If Hashem's words, Yehida Kiyah V'Sei Chamayim, would not be La'olam V'Sei Kiyah Hashem, they would not be forever present in the heavens and recreating them every second from nothing to something, they would cease to exist. The only reason they continue to exist is because Hashem's creative energy, enclosed in the words and the letters, Yehida Kiyah V'Sei Chamayim, recreate them every split second from nothing to something. And these words are forever enclosed in all the heavens, and all the firmaments and all the heavens to give them life. As it says, the word of our God will stand forever. Meaning the word of our God, which is the word of Hashem, that is the energy of creation, the power of creation, which is enclosed in Hashem's words, in the 10 utterances which Hashem created. That energy stands there forever and recreates. Or as we say in davening, his words are alive and existent forever. Why is it so important that the word of Hashem that created the world 5,784 years ago should continuously be present in the heavens, and for that matter in every other creation? So he continues and says, because if God forbid, this energy which is enclosed in the letters of Yehida Kiyah V'Sei Chamayim, that there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, would be withdrawn, God forbid. The chayzves lemkaydan and return to their source. Hayukol hashamayim ayin ve'efes ma. All the heavens would revert into absolute nothingness. V'hayu k'lo hayu klal. They would be as if though they never existed. Exactly as it was before Hashem spoke and said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of it." Now, why does he repeat? It would be like it never existed, exactly like it was before Hashem spoke. There's an interesting nuance of it. Normally, we would say like this: what would happen if Hashem stopped creating this table? Right? This table exists now, and Hashem is creating it every second from nothing to something. What would happen if Hashem stopped creating? It wouldn't exist anymore. So we'd only have all the rest of the tables. This table wouldn't be here. Yeah. Would we be able to say, used to be a table over here? I would think yes. Right? Yesterday, Hashem was creating the table. So yesterday, there was a table. Today, he's not creating it. So it's not here. But think to yourself like this. The concept of an existence is taken for granted, or that also is a creation of Hashem? The fact that there's a concept of such a thing can exist, or does exist, is that also a creation of Hashem, or is that taken for granted? It's also a creation for Hashem. So if Hashem would stop creating this thing, he would also stop creating the concept of the thing. Then it wouldn't exist even as something which once was. In other words, it used to be a World Trade Center, downtown Manhattan, Twin Towers. Yeah. On the 11th of September, it was destroyed. But now they're no longer. But I can still tell you that 25 years ago, it was there. Why? Why can I talk about the fact that it existed 25 years ago? Because the concept still exists. Even though the physical building doesn't exist, but the concept exists. So it's a historical concept. But why does the concept exist? Because the concept is being recreated every second by Hashem from nothing to something. A concept that doesn't exist, you can't conceptualize, you can't talk about it, you can't think about it, you can't imagine it, you can't relate to it. There's nothing there to relate to. So if Hashem would stop creating any creation, if he would stop creating it again from nothing to something this very second, not only it wouldn't physically be there, it wouldn't even be there as a concept. There wouldn't be nothing to talk about. There wouldn't be a historical fact that there once was such a thing. Because that's also part of creation. And also needs to be recreated every second from nothing. So the fact that Hashem says, Yehi Rekiya B'Sei Chamayim, there should be a firmament in the waters, and those words are still there, recreating the heaven every second, that's why the heavens exist. And if those words would stop recreating the heavens for 1 second, the heavens would cease to exist, and they would be exactly as if though they were never created in the first place. As if though they never existed. Literally like it was before the 6 days of creation. Just like before the 6 days of creation, it wasn't even a story that once was a heaven. Heaven was an unthinkable concept. It didn't exist in anybody's mind. It didn't exist as a concept. So if Hashem would stop creating the heavens, it would cease to exist even as a concept. It would be exactly as if though it never existed. And the Medrash is speaking specifically about Yehi Rekiya B'Sei Chamayim. He's talking about the heavens, the firmament. The same is essentially true in all of creation. All the worlds, the higher worlds, the lower worlds, the spiritual entities, the physical entities, the angels, the spheres, the spheres, the physical earth, everything. The same principle applies to all of them. That they only exist because there's a divine creative energy that recreates them every second from nothing to something. Even this physical earth, the still aspects of the physical. It's one thing to say Hashem is the neshama of the world. So Hashem is the neshama of the world. He gives it life. If he would stop giving it life, what would happen to the world? It would be dead. No, it wouldn't be dead. It would be non-existent. Dead means it's there without life. Why is it there? It's only there because Hashem creates it every second from nothing to something. So it's not only animals wouldn't have life, vegetables wouldn't have life. Even even a rock, which doesn't have any apparent life, But its life is the fact that there's a recreation energy from Hashem, recreating it every second from nothing to something. That's also a life. So even this physical earth, the globe, together with the physical and still components of it. If, God forbid, the letters from the 10 utterances with which the world was created in the 6 days of creation were withdrawn from them, it would revert to total nothingness as it was before the 6 days of creation, literally. A story that's shared. Somebody once asked someone who didn't study Chassidus, what would happen if the Almighty wanted to destroy the world? What options would he? So I would imagine he would make a big fire, burn the world down. Said, and what would he do with the ashes? Said he would spread them in the 7 seas. And what would he do with the seas? Maybe he could drink them. Said, good idea. You should. Does the verblend better mit deinem Bashefet zusammen? That's your concept of the Creator. You should be burnt up together with the Creator. If the Almighty didn't want the world to exist, all He would need to do is stop recreating. The only reason the world exists is because Hashem recreates it every second from nothing to something. And everything in the world only exists because it's being recreated every second from nothing to something. And it's all happening because this is Hashem's agenda. This is what Hashem wants. And He's creating it for the sake of the Jewish people, for the sake of the Torah, and the Jewish people be able to study Torah and mitzvahs, and make this world a dwelling place for Hashem. And that's why the world is being recreated every second from nothing to something. Okay, so that question is completely outside of the point that we're discussing, because we're talking about how creation is dependent on the creative energy of Hashem that recreates it every second. And that's true of everybody. However, you're asking a very important question, although it's a different question. The question is, man is the purpose of creation. And the whole creation is to fill out Torah, which will itself, for Torah and to do mitzvah. So could the world exist without Yidden? So the answer is, if Yidden are the purpose of creation, and obviously there would be no purpose in recreating the world if there was no Yidden. Right? And that's why we know that the Jewish people are an eternal nation, because they're the purpose of the world. And we saw that all the throughout history, all the nations have tried to destroy the Jewish people, and all the effects of assimilation and everything else. And even though it looked very scary, and there were situations where things became very looked like there was very small chances of things working out, but somehow or other the Eibush always saw to it that Klal Yisrael should persevere. And persevere in a way that they're connected to faith. It's an amazing thing. Whole day we're saying Haggadah, whole day every generation stand up against us. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what's in the other? And the Almighty somehow or other manages to rescue us. At the end of the day, He's running the show. And He has an agenda, and His agenda is going to carry through. It doesn't make sense that the world will continue to exist for no purpose. Hashem is recreating it every second for a purpose. Therefore, we know that Yidden won't disappear and the world won't disappear. There's a plan. Shiach is coming. Just have to get there. This is what the Arizal says. That even in still inanimate objects, like in stones, in earth, and in water, there is a soul, a spiritual life force in every single existence, even in inanimate existence. There's also a soul. So we cannot. This is the enclothing of the letters of speech, the letters of Hashem's speech in 10 utterances. In other words, in an animal, in a human, in a vegetable, we see that there's life. But in an inanimate, still thing, we don't see light. So what is that Rizal talking about when he says there's a neshama in everything, even in a stone, even in a cup of water, even in everything there's life? It means it's very simple. It exists only because there's a divine energy that's giving it existence, that's creating it every second. That divine energy that's creating it, recreating it every second, that's its soul. And without that, it wouldn't exist. And that's what the Arizal means when he says that there is a neshama, a nefesh, in every single existence, even in a daimon, even in an inanimate object. That there is a clothing of the letters of speech from the 10 utterances that give life and existence to the inanimate to become something from nothing, from the nothing that they were before the 6 days of creation. So they're recreated and re-energized every second to be what they are now rather than what they were before creation, which is absolute. The reason that he sticks in the words chas v'shalom, if chas v'shalom, this energy would stop recreating, why is he called chas v'shalom? Because Hashem's intention is that the world should be and it should become a dwelling place for Hashem, to become a beautiful, holy place. If chas v'shalom, this plan would be withdrawn, then it wouldn't be the way Hashem wants it to be. That's chas v'shalom. And therefore we know that it won't be. Because at the end of the day, Hashem's agenda prevails. So just as the situation that we mentioned before about Gimel Tammuz being a special opportunity for discussions, to become more connected to the tzaddik, to draw down the blessings of the tzaddik. So in preparation for this, in this week that we have now for Gimel Tammuz, one should look for opportunities to strengthen one's connection with the tzaddik by learning his teachings, by fulfilling his instructions, and by reaching out to fellow Yidden, the Rebbe's Abbas Yisrael. And the more one connects, the more one becomes receptive, the incredible brachas that shower down upon us on this day. May Hashem help that even we have another 6 days to go till Gimel Tammuz. Long before that, Mashiach should come and we should all be reunited and be in Beis Hamikdash HaShlishi, Malkeinu ben Hashem. Hatzlacha Rabba to everyone.
Thank you.